Hello and welcome. We just got finished reading The Little Mermaid. So, The Little Mermaid. This is not the first time that I have read The Little Mermaid. It's actually one of the few times that I've read The Little Mermaid. And I have to say, once you've read The Little Mermaid, it's very hard to go back to any other version of the story because the fairy tale is so rich and deep. And it takes you on a much I don't even know the right word to say, like a more guttural journey. The lows are lower and the highs are higher, and there's a certain sadness that covers the entirety of the story. Because you have, in the beginning, you find out about the sea folk and about the king and the daughters. And I think it's funny because, in a lot of versions, Ariel's, or it's not even Ariel, she's just called the Little Mermaid. You just get the Little Mermaid, who is incredibly quiet and timid, and she's the youngest. And, in her quiet and timidity, she's also the one with the most questions out of all of the other mermaids. And it's really interesting to see that there's like a hierarchy and a culture to the mermaids, how they have like pearls and clams and stuff like that they'll put on their tails as signs of their like significance, and the way that it describes the castles and everything that the king that exist under the sea, and how it communicates all the beautiful colors, and how there are flowers under the sea, and how all the daughters have gardens of their own, and they make them into different shapes, and they have all these interesting items. And for the Little Mermaid, she has a little statue of a child, and it's all very, very beautiful and very pretty. And none of the fish are anthropomorphized or anything. They're just fish, and they just coexist with the mermaids. And so, you get a much clearer picture of this similar life to ours, but just found under the sea. And the grandmother who takes care of the daughters, she communicates with them. She basically just acts as a grandmother, and she's a little vain. And she talks to the girls, and she tells each of them, whenever you're old enough, each of you can go up to the surface, because you can then properly handle and stay safe. And so each year, each of them gets to go to the top, and they tell the other sisters everything that they saw, and they all talk about it, and it keeps going for 5 years. I think there's 5 of them. And then the Little Mermaid gets to go, and she sees everything, and she sees the prince having his birthday celebration. And then everything goes away, and all the stuff happens that and the ship ends up getting shipwrecked. And I actually want to pull back a moment on the story a little bit and just talk about how I love the description of the voices of the mermaids, and how the mermaids are not malicious, and they really want the humans to actually come and see their they want the humans to come and see their castles and all their beautiful things, but the humans will die because they drown, and so they're always a little upset about this. But whenever they sing, their voices sound like the wind. They're like so beautiful that it's kind of like the whistling of the wind, which I think is a really beautiful way of describing a voice, where it's like, what does the voice sound like? It's so soft that you could mistake it for the wind. It's just that beautiful and soft. And the Little Mermaid has the softest voice out of all of them. She has the most beautiful voice, the one that everyone envies. And anyways, it finally becomes the Little Mermaid's turn, and she saves the prince, and she drags him to shore, and she hides herself, and she waits to see if anybody's going to save him, if anybody's going to see him. And so there's a little convent, and they leave, and they go over, and one of the ladies there saves him, or one of the girls goes over there, finds him, wakes him up, saves him. And so that's kind of like the end of it. And she wants to know where he lives, like where's his castle, where's his kingdom, because she wants to see him again, because he's just the most beautiful thing. He's so beautiful that he reminds her of the statue that she has in her garden. And so they tell her where he lives. And the description, Arthur Rackham has done some artwork that you can find of the castle, and how the castle has this staircase that goes all the way down into the ocean itself. And it's really, really pretty to see the artwork that people have made of the description of this castle, where the castle is just like the sand white look to it. And so the Little Mermaid just continues to watch him and just desires so much to be part of the human world. And one day, she decides to go to the Sea Witch. So she travels by herself, and she goes to the Sea Witch. And an interesting detail with the Sea Witch and everything, or just with the mermaids, is that Ariel wishes that she could cry because of how upset she is that she can't be with the humans. And she's very upset about all of this, but mermaids cannot cry, is what Hans Christian Andersen writes. And he says, so the sadness that the mermaids feel is very, very deep because they cannot cry. And I think the fact that the sadness that comes from the inability to cry is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I love the idea that humans have the ability to really feel an emotion and then allow it to pass through them. That's a unique trait to human beings. And the fact that it comes from crying, the ability to move through sadness onto another emotion, coming through crying. And, now we have the idea of, the tears have this chemical, and you release that chemical, and then because that chemical is released, you get all of these other things, yada, yada, yada. But with mermaids, they can't cry for some reason, which makes me think there are some other stories that I've seen where, if you can get a mermaid to cry, it's considered one of the most impressive things that you can do, and it's like a magical qualities. But the idea of a tear, the ability to cry, kind of like being a conduit for overcoming sadness and being an element of sadness, I really love. And I think there's a much deeper idea in that thought of how crying is an important part of the grief process that she doesn't have access to. It's one of those things where it's like you really want to have something to say, but you haven't finished processing that idea enough. So I'm just going to keep moving on. So she goes to the Sea Witch, and the Sea Witch, says, hey, look, I know what you want already. We make a deal. I get your voice, and you get legs. But the process of your tail turning into legs is going to feel like a sword piercing you, and every time you walk is going to feel like you're standing on knives, so that it would be like your feet are bleeding. And this is very, very intense. She's like, you can become a human, but you won't have your voice, and your legs will be the most painful thing about you, but you will be the most beautiful woman in everyone's eyes. No one will be able to say there is someone more beautiful than you, and all of your movements will be more graceful than anyone else's. You'll just Even though everything that I give you will be a pain to you, it will also be your greatest advantage. And the Little Mermaid's, asks, like, well, how am I to get him to love me? I want to marry him, because part of the deal is that if he gets married without someone else, or to someone else, while the Little Mermaid is in a human form, she will then die. She has to marry him to become a true human. And I like this detail that humans are unique in that they are the only ones with souls. And the mermaids themselves know they don't have souls. They have very long lives. I think it's around 300 years. So they have lives that are far longer than any human will ever experience. And so the point of a mermaid's life is just to celebrate and be happy for as long as you can. But at the end, it's over. And only humans have the ability to have a soul that can ascend into heaven. And I absolutely love that idea, where it's only humans who have a soul, but you can gain a soul by taking on the form of humanity and essentially having another person's soul grant you your own soul. So it's like they're giving you a piece of their own soul, which becomes your own unique soul, so that you too can then be truly human and also get to experience this life in heaven. And so the Little Mermaid takes this chance. She doesn't do the like G-rated Disney version where the voice is just taken out of her, but the witch cuts her tongue out. That's how she takes her voice. She takes her tongue out. And that's, incredibly brutal, but it shows you a real, genuine, painful cost. The full extent that her love is allowing her to go in the hopes that the prince will love her. And so she takes this vial, and the witch tells her, if you start to get trapped by any of the polyps on your way out, just throw this brew, because it has part of my blood inside of it. And they'll let you go, because they'll just disintegrate. And whenever you get to the shore, you then drink it. And then all the stuff that I told you about will happen. And so she goes up, and she drinks the potion, and her tail turns into legs. And, she's in great pain. And then the prince comes down the stairs, and he sees her, and he goes over, and he's like, "Who are you? What are you doing? Let's take care of you." And so everybody in the castle goes, and they take care of her, and they give her clothes, and everyone sees her and is just like, wow, she's beautiful. And whenever she walks, she just walks so elegantly, to the point where I think there probably is a ballet of the Little Mermaid. And I'm just saying, what a great, if I were to make the Little Mermaid, I would have probably like a ballerina cast as the Little Mermaid for whenever she's a human being, because everything she needs to do needs to be filled with such a grace and beauty in it, to where you just go, wow, this woman is beautiful on the inside and the outside. And it's such a tragic story in that the Little Mermaid really does everything she can to win the prince's love, but the prince has somewhat taken an oath inside of himself, where he's like, I almost died, but I have promised myself that the only person I would marry is the woman who saved me, because I know that she loves me and I love her for saving me. And the Little Mermaid cannot tell him that she is the one that saved him, because she no longer has a tongue to be able to speak. She's she's dumb. And so she's trying to get him to love him, and she's like, "Oh, I am the one who saved you. I am the one that you love. Please love me back." And I think that's an interesting little plot twist where it's like the thing he says he wants, you are, but he cannot see that you are that thing. And I think that's a dilemma that we've all experienced, where someone will say that they want something over and over and over again, and you're like, here is that thing that you want. Here it is. You can have it, but you're refusing it. Why are you refusing it? It's yours for the taking. Well, and for the Little Mermaid, she's like, I am the thing that you desire, and you are the thing that I desire. We can be in love. We can be happy. And the description that it gives, it feels so annoying and kind of overly personal, where he loves her so much that he dresses her as a page so that she can accompany him everywhere. Which I don't know how unusual it would be for a woman to be a prince's page. I don't know if that was like an unusual thing, or if page was more of just a role or a title that could be for anyone, kind of like a jester. But he spends time with her, and he really starts to fall in love with her. And the king says, "Hey, we have a prince from another nation that we want you to see, and we hope that you'll want to marry her." And the prince is just like, I don't think I want to marry anyone except the woman that I love. And I cannot find her, the woman who saved me. And while these things are all approaching, the prince, he really wants to always be upfront and honest with the Little Mermaid, because he cares deeply for her. But he probably says a lot of dumb things along the way, kind of like this section where he goes, I don't want to marry just anybody. He said, I want to marry the woman who saved me, but if I am forced to marry, I know that I would be happy with you, that I would be more than happy, that you would like satisfy my heart, is kind of how he conveys that. Which, wow, what a gut punch. Could you imagine you're with the person that you love and they say, hey, you are everything that I am looking for, but there's just something preventing me from being able to take that final step. And as for me, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I'm not going to wait forever. If I find a person that I think is sufficient, who is all the good qualities, but maybe not quite what I was imagining in my head, like, you know what, but you're still kind, and you're still full of love, and I would still be happy with you. So I'm going to accept the good thing that I have now, so that I don't pass up a good thing, because I don't know if I will come across a good thing again. But this isn't what how the prince thinks. So they go and they travel to this other kingdom, and lo and behold, the other king's daughter is the woman who found him on the shore. And so the prince is ecstatic. He is so happy that he's found the woman who has saved him. And even the Little Mermaid herself recognizes how beautiful of a person this woman is. She's like, she's not only beautiful on the outside, she's beautiful on the inside. She's genuinely a beautiful being. And so the prince is excited. He's like, I cannot believe that I found the woman that I've been searching for. And props to him. You find the woman that you've been searching for forever. Consider yourself incredibly lucky, and don't let go. And that is his intention, is to hold on and not let go. And no one can really blame him. Like, this is the thing that he's been searching for. This is what he held himself. And in a sense, what he's doing is kind of an honorable thing, where he's like, I will hold to a vow, and I will do all of the good things required of me, which is to be patient. And his patience ends up paying off, where he gets the thing that he wants. He finds the thing that he desires, but it comes at the cost of the Little Mermaid being able to remain human, and of her being able to get a soul. Her life is going to be cut short. She's going to die, and she won't get to heaven. She won't get to experience a full life as a mermaid. And so her family, who knows where she is and has been, constantly coming by her and then wishing that she could come back. Her sisters come over, and all of them have their hair cut, because all the mermaids had incredibly long hair. Well, all the girl mermaids at least. And they come to her, and they have a knife, and they give it to the Little Mermaid, and they're like, "Please, we love you so much. We cut our hair off, and the witch gave us this knife, and if you just kill the prince, because he has betrayed you, if you'll just take his life, you can become a mermaid again, and you won't turn into sea foam, and you get to live. Please live." Which, the family wants the person that they've lost, because they have. The Little Mermaid has no choice. She is going to die if she does nothing. And so she is not going to get what she wants, because the marriage happens. The prince and the princess get married. And so the Little Mermaid goes into the room where both of them are. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm sorry. I'm so bad at this. I should really take notes. But the Little Mermaid dances a lot of times because she's so graceful. And I think it is one of the most beautiful and tragic scenes in my mind whenever she performs these dances, especially at the wedding, whenever she's like, "I have to perform this beautiful dance," where she dances and everyone can see how much pain that her steps put her in. Every single step is so incredibly painful. And he writes that she actually does start bleeding from her feet whenever she is doing these dances, but that everyone allows her to do these dances because it is so, so beautiful. The dances are so deep and affecting to the soul and to the person watching them that even though there is immense pain associated with these dances, that it's still worth it to do the dance, and it's still worth it to allow her to do the dance because of how moving and how graceful and how beautiful it is. And I really love that idea that doing something, even at the point of pain, because it is beautiful and transformative and resonant inside of people, is something that you should still permit, even if you see the pain. If you're just like, this person knows the cost, and they're doing it, and it is for beautiful reasons, not intended for harm, for beautiful reasons, you allow it to occur regardless of the pain. That's just very deep and very beautiful. And I've always loved that part. That part's always resonated with me, where she will dance to the point of so much pain that her feet start to bleed, but she does it over and over and over again because it's just worth doing. But she now has to make the choice between killing the prince or dying. And she sees the prince who she loves, and she sees his wife, and she just goes, "I cannot kill the prince. I love him too much, and their love is too beautiful for me to be selfish." Because she's really been selfish this entire time. She left her family without talking to them, all for the chance that the prince would fall in love with her. And then she's just been, trying and trying and trying to get the prince to fall in love with her. It's really a very selfish story, and it also shows a major immaturity about her. But there is also maturity inside of that immaturity where she goes all the way. She is willing to die to try and gain his love. It's just that his love is not for her. And that's not something that you can ever control, is who someone's love is for. And you have to respect that, because if you do love them, right, it's like if you love them, you'll let them go. Because to not let them go is to be clingy and to break the idea of what love is, which is choice. The someone choosing you. And you choosing them as well. And so she sees this, and she just goes, both of them are so beautiful, and both of them are so in love. I cannot hurt either of them. And it also says that the princess sees how the Little Mermaid has made the prince so happy, and that she also enjoys the Little Mermaid, where she's also happy that she's in both of their lives. And that's just a very good thing for the princess, where that shows an honor to her as well, where she's not offended, she's not concerned, she's not worried. She trusts the prince, and she's also grateful to those who gave him such a good life, which is a very honorable thing. And the Little Mermaid, she can't go through with it. She can't kill the prince. So she's like, I will follow my actions to their inevitable end. And she allows herself to fall into the ocean and dissolve into sea foam. But this is where the story takes a beautiful, very light twist, and something that I think is more satisfying than the happy fairy tale endings that we come across now, which is, where she gets the prince and there's no failure. It's just, you fight a giant sea witch rather than actually lose, but you lose not in some fairy tales do it where it's like an unfair way. You lose by agreeing to the rules ahead of time and following them through, and just, losing by fair game. And she's willing to accept the responsibility, and she does accept the responsibility, and she allows it to occur. And she allows it to occur with sadness and with joy at the same time, where she's happy that they are together, but she's also sad that she's not with the prince, which is what a heroine, right? What a beautiful icon for what a woman as a role model could be. Where it's like, wow, you accept the good and the bad, and you do good only. And whenever the outcome finally arrives where you must go, you leave, but you leave knowing you did the right thing and that you put your best foot forward, even if the outcome you were aiming for didn't occur. And you don't allow yourself to be bitter. You move forward, accepting the responsibility and accepting the pain and the joy that came along the path. Just an excellent character arc. An amazing character arc. You just don't see those things anymore, and that is so upsetting. It's so upsetting that you don't see those character arcs anymore. But she turns into sea foam, and she turns into a child of the air. And she's like, what is this new form that I've taken? I was a mermaid, and then I was a human, and now I am a spirit of the air. And so the other spirits of the air, who are apparently all sisters, it implies that they're all, the air is all a female, of a female type. And they tell her, you actually still have the ability to gain an immortal soul like us, where we go about and we spend our lives trying to make children happy, and just people in general. And every single time we successfully find a child who is smiling, the period for which we are children of the air reduces until we finally arrive at the point where we can become full souls and move into heaven. And so she, by following through and accepting her fate, actually still gains the most important part of what being human is, which is a soul. And the way that she can do that is by continuing to do the thing that she was doing the entire time, which is continuing to do the right thing and bring joy and beauty and peace into the world. And so by bringing joy, beauty, and peace into the world, she actually is still able to be saved from the selfish deeds that she started this journey on. Because even if you make a wrong decision at the beginning, you can pursue a right decision and continue making right decisions in the path that was originally wrong because you made a wrong choice at the beginning. But you can still turn it into something beautiful at the end, which will allow you to not die, but to become an immortal soul. And it's just what an extra deep and beautiful layer to a story, where you go from just the brutality of what she's willing to go through to have a chance at falling in love, where she loses her tongue, where she allows her tail to be split open at pain of a sword, and then she walks to the point of bleeding just so she can try and allow other people to find her emotions transformative and beautiful, to allowing herself to fail and to meet with the consequences of her actions, to then being able to continue making good and beautiful decisions forward, to have the eternal soul that is part of the deal that she thought she would also lose out on. So she ends up not even having less of a life than before, but but ends up having an eternal life regardless. And I just think that is an absolutely and utterly beautiful ending to a beautiful story. And this story has inspired so many adaptations, and it's one of those stories where it's really hard to find an adaptation that is just bad. Most of them are very, very good. There's like a Russian animated version. It's like 20 minutes, and it's very good, and it covers the original ending for the story. And then even the Disney one is also good, even though it's very different. It's very Disneyfied. And it continues to be such a defining fairy tale in so many ways. So many ideas of what mermaids are still apply from this book. And I'm just glad to have read it and glad to have shared it with you. And I would love to know how this story has affected you and what you think about the story. So please comment down below how you found this story, how the story affected you, and what you think about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, and check out one of these other videos right here to continue hearing about loads of different beautiful stories. Thank you.